Hi everyone, and welcome to the award-winning show Connecting with Kim here on Tampa Bay Arts and Education Network. I'm your host, Kim Droege, and thank you for joining us today. Every week we strive to bring you information that will help you live your best life in our corner of paradise here in Tampa Bay. Please follow my Instagram, my Facebook, and my X account for the latest information about the show, my guests, and of course my on-air wardrobe, which is provided by the Spring of Tampa Bay from their Spring Boutique, located at the corner of Swann and Henderson here in Tampa, and we'll talk more about that later. So I'm so excited because we have, before I introduce my guests, also you can catch the audio of our show on Sun Radio, 96.3 FM, and on your favorite streaming platform, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon. I'm so excited. We have a great episode coming up today. Of course, I love all my episodes. I'm such a lucky girl. But let me introduce my guest. My guest today in the chair is Mr. Tim Pearson, who is the president of the Hillsborough County Firefighters Union, Local 2294. I've said that so many times in the past I should never stumble over that because I know it, like I say it in my sleep, I think. Tim, welcome to our show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It's good to have you in the chair finally. So I should give a little background. Tim was supposed to be on the show earlier this year, and I came down with COVID, so that was the end of that. And but I'm so glad that we were able to reschedule for the fall. So on our show, we always start out with allowing our guests to share as much as they like about their personal journey, because that usually brings us to the point we're talking about today. And also, you never know when somebody out there is share something in common with you, and that'll be good. So, take it away.
My name is Tim Pearson. I'm the current president of Hillsborough County Firefighters, Local 2294. My journey, I was born and raised in McLean, Virginia, which is just on the other side of the Potomac from Washington, D.C. Grew up there 17 years in the same house. Parents still live there, get to go back and visit. It's nice. From there, I went and played soccer at the University of Massachusetts. Did 4 years up there. Graduated. Met my wife there, who was a gymnast. She's from Odessa, so she moved back home. She graduated a semester before me. Moved back home. I followed her, and we got married and settled in 2000. So, been here for 23 years. Bunch of kids that are now grown. My youngest is a senior this year, so almost an empty nester.
You don't look old enough to be an empty nester.
I am.
Well, I can believe that about your wife, because I had the good fortune of attending the 50th anniversary for the Hillsborough County Fire and Rescue, and met your lovely wife. And is it Jen?
Yep.
And met your wife Jen, and she looks as slim and trim as beautiful as I'm sure as the day you met her.
Yep. She's a powerhouse.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I got that impression. Okay, so you settled here so how did you become a firefighter?
I graduated college not knowing what I wanted to do, like most people. I was interning with a group called Young Life that's also local here. So I came down and started a full-time position with them, did that for 2 years, and really started to try to figure out what I was going to do for a career. Started asking people if they liked their jobs, what their job was, and if they liked it. Every firefighter that I talked to said I love my job. That was intriguing to me. I didn't want to sell sugar water. I didn't want to sit in a cubicle.
What's Young Life, just for those people out there who don't know?
Tampa Young Life. I was working out of Chamberlain High School.
Okay, but what is it? What do they do?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a youth ministry. It's an outreach ministry.
Okay.
It's not based in a church, but it's more parachurch.
Okay.
So
it's very spiritual. It's a spiritual ministry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
What was your major in, by the way?
Communications.
Communications. Okay.
Yeah. And that was, I went through about 5 different majors, and near the end, I said, "What do I have credits for?" And they said, "We'll give you a communications degree," and so I took that.
Did you go there on a soccer scholarship?
No, soccer allowed me to go to the school.
Okay.
But limited scholarships, etc.
But you never thought about being a professional soccer player?
No, I didn't think. Then the MLS was just starting. It wasn't really a viable option, but
yeah.
it was good to do Division I college athletics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I mean, I don't think I've ever met anyone in all the time I've been doing this that went to college on, playing soccer. I mean, because soccer, back then, soccer was still not that big in the United States. I mean, I'm happy to say it is now because, and it's growing in popularity, and we have lots of teams and leagues and so on and so forth. But back then, it wasn't that big of a thing, right? I mean, seriously, maybe at the collegiate level, but.
Right. Well, the youth level for sure.
Yeah.
And then the college level has definitely grown.
So you started talking to all these people, and they started telling you how great it was to be a firefighter.
Yeah. Like I said, not selling sugar water, not working in a cubicle. It has meaning. It's important. It's interesting. It works well with my ADHD, where you sit around and then you get a call and you go fix a problem and you come back and you're back to normal. So it was a really good fit for me. Really enjoy serving the community, going to help people in their most difficult time. And it's true for all of our firefighters. We love our jobs.
I mean, I got to tell you, this is fascinating to me because, I mean, you run into danger while everybody is fleeing danger. I mean, that's your job. And I think it takes a special kind of mentality to say, yeah, I want to do that. I want to run into a burning building or some other situation with a building, because it could be a collapse of some sort. It could be, well, we don't get them here, but it could be an earthquake. It could be a lot of things. And you go, I know, yeah. And you go running in, and you have no idea what you're going to face when you get in there.
Yeah, it's not for everybody.
Yeah.
For certain. It takes a certain skill set, a certain mentality, a certain. It's a change in your way of life.
Was your family? I mean, so was Jen supportive of this idea too? Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was supportive for sure. I don't have any family members that worked in fire or police, so I'm first generation. It was a little different path for me to go get my degree first and then go to fire school. Not everybody needs a degree. You can go to HCC or to PHCC and get your EMT and get your fire cert, and then you're hireable. I'm glad I went to college. I'm glad I got my degree. It's obviously helped in this role, but it's not a necessity for anybody that's thinking about becoming a firefighter.
Right. So tell me about fire school. How long does fire school take? Is it local, or do you have to go away somewhere? Or?
It's been a long time. If I remember correctly, EMT school was about 6 months, and fire school was similar, 6 to 8 months, part-time. So I was able to continue working while I was going through school. Not here nor there, but I was working for my mother-in-law doing screen printing out of my garage and making ends meet while I decided what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so when you graduated from EMT and fire school training, then what happens? They just assign you to a firehouse somewhere?
No, then you have to start applying different places. So state of Florida, you get certified first, and then you're hireable. So for me, I got certified, put my application multiple places, ended up landing a job in Lakeland, city of Lakeland.
Oh, okay.
I worked there for 11 months while I had my application in with Hillsborough, and finally got the call there and made the move over.
Okay, so when you become a firefighter in a firehouse, so what was your next moves after that? I mean, did you switch around firehouses? Did you start climbing up the ranks? I mean, tell me what happened.
Yeah, so in Hillsborough County, you're required to become a paramedic within 3 years.
Okay.
So an EMT is a basic level certification, then your paramedic is quite a bit more intensive and more difficult. You're pushing drugs, you're starting IVs, you're reading EKGs, you're defibrillating, all these sorts of things.
Right.
And so for Hillsborough County, within 3 years, you have to get your medic. So that was first task on, and then from there, you can start the acting process, where you can start acting in higher positions, starting with acting lieutenant, which is on the rescue or the ambulance, the officer on the ambulance, acting driver, which is driving the fire engine. From there, I promoted to driver. Mm-hmm. From there, I took a little different path. I went into the office as a training officer. So
to train other firefighters?
Correct.
Okay.
So doing orientation, doing in-service training.
Did you like that?
I did. I've liked all my jobs I've had in the fire department.
I mean, your degree's in communication, so it would seem to me that'd be a natural fit, right? Being a trainer for firefighters.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. It was good. I hope I did a good job. From there, I decided to take the leap and run for union president, which is an elected position for us. Was unsuccessful in my first run, successful in my second, and here I am.
Congratulations. Well, as you know, I first became aware of and involved with Hillsborough County Firefighters, Local 2294, because of our friend Chris Bowles, our mutual friend. And we did a series of interviews. I know that you've heard them. We started with, what happens when you call the firehouse? When you call 911, take us through what happens, right? Because there's different people that can respond from that call. And then we took it through the union, the PAC, the charity, and so on and so forth. So when you became president of the union, did you also, all those other roles you have to fill too?
Yeah. It was a steep learning curve. When I came in, we were in the middle of a contract negotiation, so I had to get my feet under me on that. Ended up with a good contract, and then starting to build the relationships, the political relationships. It's really an infinite game. There's no start, middle, or end. The players are always changing. I don't know what each week is going to bring. And so it's similar to firefighting, where a call comes in and we move and we act on it. And so we have the short-term projects and then the long-term projects also.
So what is I'm kind of interested, what is your turnover rate or retention rate? I guess we can look at it both ways, turnover rate or retention rate, amongst firefighters in Hillsborough County?
Hillsborough County, the fire service as a whole has seen a slowdown in people coming through fire academy.
Really?
And I don't know what to attribute that to, if it's generational, if it's lack of mechanical history or education, vocation. It seems like vocations are having a hard time getting employees. For us, we've lost, I want to say, somewhere between 20 and 30 people this year to resignations. And we've seen an increase in people that are leaving the fire service altogether and going to do other things. So that's concerning. But Hillsborough County, we're in a okay position because for us, we're able to recruit from other departments. But there's departments like Polk County, which are just bleeding employees because they're leaving there to go other places for wages, benefits, working conditions. They're having an extremely hard time.
Really? And is this something that fire service is experiencing, firefighter service is experiencing nationwide?
Yeah, I think with the recruitment part of it, of people not coming through fire school like they used to. And again, I don't know what to attribute that to.
If you're just joining me now and connecting with Kim, my guest in the chair is Tim Pearson, who is the president of the Hillsborough County Firefighters Union, here, Local 2294 here in Hillsborough County. And we've been talking about his journey through the firefighting service and kind of the current state of the firefighting service. So that's concerning. I would want to be, the analytical part of me, because I'm come from marketing background, the analytical part of me would want to go, well, now why is that? We have to start looking into that. What reasons are they citing when they leave? I mean, is it just too hard, or is it, long hours, or is it, what is it?
Yeah, I think, and maybe more specific to Hillsborough County, we've seen so much growth in the county that the department has found ways to be more efficient so we can still respond in a decent amount of time. Yeah. But those efficiencies have fallen on the employees. And so even though the system is more efficient for us to respond to more calls or respond from the street using the CAD or AVL, we can talk about that if you want, those efficiencies have put a larger burden on the employees. And so we have a metric called a unit hour utilization, which is basically saying how much time in a day is a single unit on a call. Mm-hmm. And the threshold for that is about 30% of the time is an unsustainable level. Well, almost every single one of our ambulances or rescues is in that 30% unsustainable threshold and has been for 2.5 years. And so that falls on the employee, where if you're on the road more than 30% of the time, you still have reports to do, you still have food to eat, you still have, recuperation. That puts a strain on the employees. So that could play a factor.
Well, we're going to have to address the elephant in the room, because it's been all over social media, it's been all over the regular media, it's been everywhere about we don't have enough fire. We have a deficit of fire stations in Hillsborough County. I think the current number that I remember is we're at least 24 behind.
I think we're at 22 right now, according to the master plan.
Okay.
And you can never keep up with growth.
Right.
You have to be ahead of growth.
Right.
Because by the time we have the 25,000 citizens that are moving here each year, you put a station in the plans, it's going to be 2 to 3 years to build that station.
Right.
And by then, now you have added 50,000 people. And so we're paying for past mistakes
Right.
and trying to catch up.
Right.
And it's going to take a significant investment.
Exactly. Do fire stations, this is something I've always wondered, do fire stations, are they always a certain square footage with a certain amount of personnel? Or does it vary by location?
It can vary by location and need. We have 2 base stations, which typically would have an engine and a rescue. We have a 4 base station. So, if we get into special ops and heavy rescue and ladder companies and things like that, you can have a 2, a 3, or 4 base station.
Okay. So, and that's determined by, I imagine the people planning that, determine that by the community that station's going to be built in, the demand that's probably going to be experienced in that community, right?
Correct. Yeah. So the majority of our stations would be a 2 base station. It's getting into the more special stations that would be larger. So it really comes, the data of it is interesting to me. When
Yeah.
I first came on, it was kind of throwing darts and guessing where you were going to put a station, or,
Right.
or having to do a lot of manual calculations to figure it out. Now, like I was saying with the CAD and the AVL, we have so much data that all these are data-driven decision making, and we can pinpoint, if we put a station here and it has an engine and a rescue, it's going to run this many calls and it's going to serve this population within the 4-minute response time. And so when we look down south and out east specifically, we've seen so much explosive growth there that there's large gaps in coverage that we can't get there within the 4 minutes that we'd like to.
So 4 minutes is the standard that you're shooting for?
Drive time.
Drive time.
Right.
Okay, so what is it now?
It depends on where.
Where?
You are. Yeah.
I know that. So I live in South County, which I've shared with my audience on more than one occasion. I live in South County, where you're right. I mean, we are just growing leaps and bounds. We do not have the infrastructure to support that growth because, it just wasn't built.
Right.
And infrastructure now is so expensive to build. So so that leads me, what you just talked about leads me to the question of, so when you decide to put a fire station somewhere, do there has to be a separation of distance between the fire stations? Like you can't build fire stations within so many miles of each other and stuff like that?
Not necessarily. It depends on population density.
Okay.
A lot. If you're downtown, you have exceptionally more people per square foot or acre, where it'd make more sense to have closer stations there. Up in town and country, we have stations that are reasonably close to each other. In the rural areas, you can separate them a little bit further because you don't have the same population.
I got to tell you, the main drag through the community where I live is 674.
I worked at Station 28 for 3 years.
State Road 674, you know it well, right?
Yep.
And we call it the South County Symphony because it starts in the morning, because they're not allowed, or they don't, I don't know if it's a rule, they can't use their sirens during certain hours. They can respond, but they're not supposed to use their sirens, right? I don't, anyway, it starts in the morning and it just goes all day long in our area.
They're playing the music of my people.
Yeah, and we're lucky too because you know about the Sun City Center Emergency Squad.
Wonderful. Wonderful
Aren't
people.
they fantastic people? We have to give them a shout out because they are all volunteer and they do a marvelous job. And they help you, right?
They do. They certainly do.
They help alleviate some of the stuff that you'd have to respond to, right?
Yeah, they get back to the core of the fire service, really, which was citizens helping citizens.
Right.
They're all trained, they're all skilled, they're all available, and just really, really salt of the earth people.
When I started out on radio, with Sun Radio, I started out on a live drive time program on Wednesday afternoons from 4 to 6, and I had a partner, Frank Reed. And Frank ended up leaving the radio station, but the one thing that he did, he and his wife Sally, is they joined the Sun City Center Emergency Squad, and they went through EMT training. I mean, they just took it, they immersed themselves in this whole thing. And it wouldn't surprise me if they're going to go through paramedic training too, because they really are dedicated and an fine example of the kind of people that we have in our community that are willing to help.
It's great for them too. They get something out of it as well. Still learning. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Doing new things, keeping the brain firing, and got community. They have friends. They have common purpose. That speaks to longevity.
Well, and I can tell you from personal experience, in 2019, when I fell coming down my attic steps, and I fell from about 5 foot in the air and landed on my back, right? And was in the most excruciating pain I think I've ever felt in my entire life. And when I saw my friend Robin Watt walking through from the emergency squad, because I'm laying on the cold garage floor, and I saw her walk through up my driveway, I immediately felt better. I was still in so much pain, but I thought, I know you. You're my friend. You're my neighbor. It really did. It was an amazing feeling.
Yeah.
Then everybody else showed up too, the professionals, the other professionals.
They made you feel better too.
And they made me feel better too, and they, because they weren't sure what my injuries were, and so, they had to stabilize me, and I couldn't move my head and all that kind of stuff, and put me on a board. But so let me, we only have a few minutes left, so I always, what do you, from your perspective in the role you have now, what do you see as the biggest challenge or challenges that your union is facing?
I think for me right now, this week in particular, with budget meetings on Thursday and next Thursday, the biggest challenge for us is figuring out how we're going to pay for this. And the frustrating part is, trying to figure out, everybody's saying, yes, we need it, we need it, we need it. What they can't agree on is how to pay for it. And obviously, we don't decide how to pay for it. The idea was floated to raise the millage. That got canceled out, so that was off the table. And then you're looking for other places in the budget to make cuts, and that has heartache, And so for us, we're just fingers crossed and knowing the need and needing the solution. And so, they had one new station in the budget for South Progress Village.
Mm-hmm.
For 22 behind, we're going to need quite a few more to be in that budget. So that's the most pressing issue for me this week.
Well, I just want to throw out a little idea for you all. I'm thinking, why don't we sell naming rights to the fire stations? We sell naming rights to everything under the sun now, right? I'm like, well, why don't we throw that out and sell naming rights to the fire stations? If it can raise some cash, why not, right? I mean, seriously.
Have fire engines that look like NASCAR.
Well, but we have that in our community.
Right.
We have, we allow people to, in their will and whatnot, to have naming rights to some of our buildings. I mean, I don't personally have an issue with it. I just want the fire station. If somebody wants to put their name on it, I'm happy with that. It can be whoever.
Certainly.
But
Certainly.
if some wealthy individual wants to put their name on the thing, I have no issue with that.
I don't think the county would turn it away.
I mean, money's money.
Right.
Well, I always want to give my guests, if they want to make a direct appeal to about anything to the public, I always give them an opportunity to, look in their own camera, and say anything to the residents and taxpayers of Hillsborough County, especially because we have so many new people. So they, moving in our county, they don't know,
Right.
So if you have something you want to appeal, please take it away.
All right. I would say that when it comes to building fire stations and public safety in general, it's a core function of government to provide those services to all citizens and the visitors. How we get there, how we pay for it, really comes down to priority. For me, my saying is, we got to fix the leak in the roof before we, put in the pool. We need to replace the windows before we paint the walls. And so it comes down to budget priorities and public engagement, public involvement. We have a hard time with because we have a 98% approval rating. Because when we show up, we do a great job. And when we show up is the important key here. We want to show up in time. When it comes to a cardiac arrest, comes to a non-breather, comes to a stroke, time is tissue. We need to be able to arrive on time and quickly. And when it comes to a structure fire, that fire grows exponentially. Every minute that we're not arriving, that fire is growing exponentially more. And so if we're going to make a save, if we're going to get into the deep recesses of that house to find that person, that child, that pet, we need to be there on time, which means we have to have a fire station nearby.
Well, folks, that's all we have time for today on this episode of Connecting with Kim. But Tim, I really appreciate you being on the show. You're welcome to come back anytime. You know how much I love the Hillsborough County Firefighters Union, and I love everything that they do because we didn't even touch on the PAC and the charity, but so we can talk about that later. But thank you for being my guest today.
My pleasure.
So, as you know, we strive every week to bring you information, useful information that will help you live your best life in our corner of paradise here in Tampa Bay. And I want you to understand that if you want firehouses, you have to contact your elected representatives and you have to let them know. This is what I want my tax dollars spent on. I want to have that response time because when you're in the middle of an emergency, you're going to want those people there. Trust me, like I was when I was laying that day on the concrete floor with, possibly something wrong with my back. I had no idea. So anyway, I want to thank my sponsor, the Spring of Tampa Bay, for providing my on-air wardrobe. The net proceeds from the Spring Boutique on Swann and Henderson and the thrift store in North Willow support their mission, which is providing safe spaces and empowering services to survivors of domestic violence and their children. So make me happy and go shop there. We'll be back next week. Thank you for joining us. So long.